What's going on, everybody? It is the best week in sports. March Madness has finally arrived, and we got a lot of things this week to talk about. Gonna dive into a little bit of bracketology, some looks ahead of some of the big games that we got going on, some things to circle, some matchups to look out for. But I want to start today again with the Suns. Man, we can't have a quiet week with this team. It's always something, and it's rarely good right now. And it feels like that again, despite it just being handed to them on a silver platter right now, a chance to just walk down the Mavericks, get in the play-in, and see what happens. They can't have a quiet week. We can't have nice things when it comes to the Suns. Y'all saw what Bradley Beal had to say this week, right? That is such an outrageous quote to me. Bradley Beal, in an interview, gives out one of the most ridiculous quotes that I've heard in a long time. So he was being interviewed by ESPN, and they were asking a bunch of questions for a number of different people with the Suns organization, and Beal was one of them. And Beal gives out a quote that says, when they were asking about kind of how things were going in Phoenix right now, he says, "I'm still playing in the NBA. I still have the best job in the world, and I still have my no trade clause. So I'm smiling every day." Does he have any idea how the season has been going for the Suns? Does he have any idea how Suns fans are feeling right now? This is so just read the room, like lack of awareness of what is happening. I hope that this was meant, because it's only in text. There's no video of it. So I'm hoping that maybe this was tongue in cheek, and maybe he was kind of just joking around a little bit, and kind of that context gets lost in a quote. But it's not like it's the first time he's ever been interviewed. He should know better. And it is just unbelievable that, as bad as this fit has been and how this team has seemingly brought out the worst in each other, that he can have that quote and that perspective. And I'm not saying he doesn't have a reason to be happy being in the NBA. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be excited about all these things, but it's pretty evident that that no trade clause is a huge hindrance on the team and the fan base and the chance of what they want to do right now. And to just nonchalantly kind of just throw it out there with a smile and a smirk, it just reeks of just someone who's not aware of what is the context of what is going on with the team. And it's just read the room. Read the room for 1 second. No one's happy that you got that no trade clause other than you, and you can be happy, but throwing it out there in everyone's face isn't great. The team is struggling mightily. I don't know if you noticed, Bradley Beal, but your game last night against the Lakers didn't go great. Like, it was not a great performance for a lot of people on the Suns. And at the end of the day, that was a loss against a Lakers team that didn't have LeBron and was riding a 4-game losing streak. And they were down 16, 17 in the first quarter alone and got blown out in that game. And Beal didn't exactly have his best performance of the season either, finishing that game with just 4 points on 2 of 6 shooting. It was tough. Tough time to have those quotes circulating and kind of percolating out there right after you just say, it's good. I'm getting paid. Why else? Why should I care about winning? Why should I care about our record, our expectations, and kind of how disappointed we've been? I'm still getting paid. That's what it screams. And that's not something that I associated with Bradley Beal. I wanted to believe it was just purely not a good fit, and it wasn't a guy that was now just collecting his check and kind of uninterested. Quotes like this don't help that narrative at all. Quotes like this are tough. Not great to see. Not a good look on him, not a good look on the whole situation. And it's just another thing. It's always something with the Suns right now. And this is just the latest thing. It's always something. Bradley Beal's got to have a little bit more self-awareness than that. You know, that's not great. It's not a good look. On the Suns, though, incredibly, they're going to have a chance still, and they do, of walking down the Mavericks and taking over that last play-in spot. Now, what does that really mean? You finished 10th in the West. Is that something really we're trying to celebrate? Feels like a little bit, if anyone ever watched the movie Semi-Pro, where they're all celebrating, trying to get to 5th place just to make the playoffs, and they feel like that's the expansion team. That's kind of how it feels like. Are we really celebrating them potentially getting in the 10th seed and getting a chance to try to get in the play-in? I mean, this team had, it sounds wild to say it now, but this team did have playoff Western Conference championship type, expectations. They had a lot. They had one of the highest payrolls in the entire league. They have an insane amount of talent to start the year. It just hasn't worked out, but that was kind of where the bar was set, and now they're fighting for a top 10 seed in the West. But like I said, they're going to have a chance to walk down the Mavericks, because I saw another report which fascinates me, and as long as I have been an NBA fan, I have never heard of anything like this. So we all know how banged up Dallas is. Their entire roster, it feels like, is on the IR right now. They got 8 healthy players. The thing is, they only have 8 healthy players for a little bit of a window right now, because a few of those guys are on 2-way contracts, and that means they're only allowed to play in a certain number of NBA games this year. So going into last night, when they had lost that game, they have 14 games left in the season. Kessler Edwards has 3 games remaining that he's allowed to play in the NBA this season, and they can't sign him on an extension or anything like that until April 10th or sign him to a full contract. So he's got 3 more games, and then he's done. They're going to have to wait till April 10th. Kai Jones has 11 games left out of that 14. Brandon Williams has 6 games left out of that 14. So that means they have 8 players right now that are healthy that can play. In 3 games, that number is going to go down to 7. In 6 games, that number is going to go down to 6. And then for the final 3 games of the year, they potentially will only have 5 healthy players. And they can't sign anybody, and they can't bring anybody else in. So they would have to go into a game with 5 players. Now, there was reports out that Anthony Davis now is going to work out with the G League team, and then he might be coming back, and maybe they get a couple of their players back. Who knows? We're talking about Anthony Davis's health, and he had been better, but seems like he's slipping back in there. And who knows if anyone else stays healthy in that span. But they have the potential of having the final 3 games of the year, of having 5 healthy players, 5 guys that they can play on a roster. And now, according to ESPN and a bunch of sources in there, they might have to forfeit games. Have you ever heard of something like that? An NBA team having to forfeit a game because they don't have enough healthy bodies to even play in it. If one more guy gets hurt at 4, you can't start a game with 4 players. They let you, if a guy fouls out, you can continue playing with 4 or less if that's what you want. If the game is going to have more people foul out, but you have to have 5 to start. They're going to forfeit games. And they're still ahead of the Suns in the standings. That's the team that Phoenix is chasing, and they haven't caught them yet. Granted, they've closed the gap a little bit, but Phoenix keeps finding a way to lose games that they should win. And the Mavericks are scrappy right now for whatever reason with guys that most people have never heard of. But they're going to have a chance to literally forfeit games, and they are still in a position where they might make the playoffs. And the Suns have one of the highest payrolls in the league and still can't find a way to close that gap. Game and a half back. They're right there. The Suns have got to catch them. If the Suns don't make top 10, blow everything up. You can't make a top 10 seed and a team in front of you is forfeiting games. everybody's got to go. You gotta press full reboot. Whoever was in the building when they were deciding whether or not they wanted to trade for Bradley Beal and said, yeah, let's do that, those people have to go. Every last one of them. Because that's an abomination. You can't trade for a guy right now, have a no trade clause. It's just so contract and cap restricting. And they are completely bogged down now by that deal for another 2 years. And they got no assets after that. So it's 2 years before you'll have a clean deck. And then you're just going to have to start building from scratch. It is not good. Not good. But let's maybe they catch fire. They still got the talent, even though I haven't seen it happen in 65 games. They got the talent. Maybe now's the time. We'll see. All right, March Madness. Let's talk about it. Brackets came out. UNC, Lord, how did they get in? They are not good. 1-12 against quad one teams. And they sneak in over West Virginia and Indiana, which is just outrageous. Just general thoughts on it. I'm super nervous for Duke if they don't have Cooper Flagg. I know they won the ACC tournament, but ACC is awful this year. Auburn is playing awful right now. And the number 1 overall seed, I don't love that. And they have the potential of running into Louisville, which would be played in Kentucky. The second game, sleeper upset right there that Auburn could get bounced in that second game. It's tempting, and Louisville's actually playing decently well right now. But let's talk a little bit about old Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon made it in, squaring off against Maryland in what is just an awful draw. I feel terrible for Grand Canyon knowing that they played a really good year. They had a lot of things to build off of, and now they're going to run into a Maryland team, the Terps, they're solid. Maryland is 22nd in the country in scoring right now. They were top 3 in the conference in every statistical category when it comes to offense and defense. They were 7th best in the country in point differential this year. And the thing is, they were just grossly underseeded for a number of reasons, mainly because they had some gut-wrenching losses this year. Now, they are coming into this thing with a 25-8 record. So they had 8 losses. Their last 4 losses, Northwestern, which was a buzzer beater in overtime, lost them that game. So they easily could have won that one. It was tied, gave up a 3-ball at the buzzer, lost by, or they were up actually and lost that one. Ohio State, they gave up a 3 with less than 10 seconds left and lost that game by 3. Michigan State, they had the ball as time was running out. They got a shot up, missed it. Michigan State got the rebound, launched a 3/4 quarter court shot, and netted it to win the game. They were tied before that. So Maryland actually had a shot with 5 seconds left to win it. Instead, they lost that game by 3. Another buzzer beater there. And then in the Big Ten tournament, they played Michigan, and they had the lead, and then Michigan got 2 free throws as time expired to win by 1. Their last 4 losses off of buzzer beaters or shots within the last 10 seconds. And 3 of them were against ranked teams. They go 8-7 against quad one teams, but 3 of those losses should have been wins or could have easily been wins. So they could have easily have been 11-4 against quad one teams. That sound like they deserve to be a 4 seed? That is a 3. You're flirting with a 2 seed there with that resume if those games go their way. You switch 29-4 in the Big Ten, they would have had a chance to win the Big Ten title. Michigan State is the 2 seed. I mean, they would have been right there with them. So That is a rough matchup. And the other, when you just look at like a talent matchup and its skill sets, it'll be a little bit interesting watching kind of the playing styles go up against each other. Grand Canyon likes to get up and down a little bit. I don't really think that's too much of Maryland style. Maryland has one of the best freshmen in the entire country. Now, obviously, Cooper Flagg is the name that everybody knows for Duke. You got the two kids at Rutgers that are incredible, but they got a pretty good one in their own right. And Maryland, Derek Queen for Maryland is awesome. He's averaging 16 and 9 this year, 53% shooting, big kid, and he can steps outside, shoots it occasionally from the outside, but it's mostly everything is just going to the work on the block. And again, that's not a strong suit for Grand Canyon. That's a tough load to handle when there's that big of a dude that's just going to work and you're more of a team that wants to get up and down. If Grand Canyon can control the pace a little bit, I like their chances more. I don't love their chances at all in this, but like I like their chances more if they can at least kind of push the pace a little bit. But I mean, it's a 10.5 point spread for a reason, which actually, like, I think shows a little bit of respect to Grand Canyon in this, because I think if you would have just matched him up, some people would have pushed that spread a little bit higher than in just that. But he's going to be hard to stop. If you were looking for a bright side on this, Maryland does not shoot the three ball well. They make less than 7 a game. They don't shoot a ton of them, but it's just not kind of one of their weapons. And if you look, history tells us in the NCAA tournament, it's teams that make a lot of threes that go on deep runs. Now, if Grand Canyon can get hot and from the outside and kind of force them to try and play a little bit of the things that they don't want to do, maybe they can change the kind of the complexion of this game a little bit. But what they can't afford to do is fall down early and then have Maryland just start pounding the rock inside. It's going to be tough. Their coach is from the Rick Pitino tree. He's really good. It's a brutal first round matchup for them. So they're going to definitely have their hands full with that one. Now, if they get out of that, the very next game I think is even a much more winnable game between Colorado State and Memphis. Colorado State's been pretty solid. Memphis is a little up and down, but Petty's got a lot of talent over there, and they got some guys. They're not bad. They have the conference player of the year over there as well for the American. But that game feels really winnable if Grand Canyon's able to get by this one. So we'll see. I mean, there's a really tough path, but there's a path to the Sweet 16 if they can find a way to. It's all about pace. If they can hit some threes and they can pick up the tempo a little bit to get some cheap ones, they'll have a shot. But man, Maryland's really good. I don't know. Let me know what team you guys got winning your brackets this year. Any big upsets? Best week in sports by far. I'm super excited for it. So let me know who I need to pick in my bracket, y'all.